While drinks like Coca-Cola and Pepsi have been around forever, they were not always the kings of the arena. Back in the day, we had a few drinks that became so popular that we thought they would never disappear. They were so good that some folks even became addicted to them. From the 50s to the 80s, we saw every weird drinks from New Coke to even Bubble Up. So what were some of those other forgotten sodas? Join us as we uncover 22 of those sodas that made our younger days a permanent blast. 22. Nehi.
Come on and splash a little knee-high. Give the knee-high flavors a try. Splash a little knee-high.
Ever wonder if we could bring something like Nehi back? If you've heard of it, you're either a soda historian or you should probably stop raiding your grandparents' cupboards. Back in the day, Nehi was a soda brand known for flavors that went beyond the classic cola and lemon-lime game we see these days. Grape and orange Nehi were absolute hits, but thankfully they didn't stop there. Nehi also slammed us with flavors like peach and strawberry. I mean, can you imagine a mainstream peach soda coming out today that isn't some limited seasonal thing? And here's the thing. Nehi may have its roots in the 1920s, yet somehow it still managed to keep going strong well into the 80s. But why did it fade away? Maybe it just couldn't compete with the soda giants. Or, who knows, maybe we just forgot what real fruit-flavored soda should taste like, so it got lost in the mix. Do you think people would go for a nostalgia-fueled peach soda today? Or have our taste buds moved on for good? I hope not, because I definitely want to see the resurrection of our infamous next entry. 21. Squirt.
Nobody else has the great refreshing citrus taste of Squirt.
Sounds more like something you'd get hit in the face with at a theme park, right? But this grapefruit soda was actually a big deal for anyone who wanted a break from colas and root beers. It was zesty, refreshing, and had this light citrus bite that made it almost feel like a healthy drink. If you ignored all the sugar, of course. Squirt actually got pretty far. It even had its own spin-off flavors like Ruby Red Squirt because apparently regular grapefruit just wasn't grapefruity enough. But somewhere along the line, Squirt ended up pushed to the back of the fridge. Did people just get tired of it? Was grapefruit soda always doomed to be a niche flavor? Who knows? But here's a question for you. Would you grab a Squirt if you saw it on the supermarket shelf today? Or are you a bigger fan of the unspoken legend that is our next entry? 20. Crystal Pepsi. A cola without the classic dark caramel color? Were we living in an alternate universe? Drinking it felt like the soft drink equivalent of flying cars because Crystal Pepsi was just that ahead of its time. Launched in the early 90s, Crystal Pepsi looked like some kind of purified next-gen cola, but tasted, well, a bit like regular Pepsi. If you closed your eyes, you might not even know the difference, which begs the question, what was the point? You can't really blame the company. The thing is, people wanted something mind-blowing, but in the end, they just got a see-through cola. It was as if Pepsi wanted to fool us into thinking it was a better option simply because it was clear. And maybe because of that, Crystal Pepsi fizzled out faster than you can say marketing gimmick. Do you think today's consumers would give it a second chance? Even if they don't, at least we know they won't enjoy it as much as they would have gone mad for our next entry. 19. Royal Crown Draft Cola. Is the world too busy with its cold brews and artisanal kombuchas to remember RC Draft Cola? This wasn't your average cola. This was the premium version aimed at dazzling the masses with a touch of class. RC Draft was made with cane sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup, giving it that rich classic sweetness that cola lovers dream about. But despite its fancy name and premium formula, RC Draft never really got its due. Maybe the world just wasn't ready for upscale stuff. Or why do you think it's not so popular now? I think there's still a place for a cola of its quality, but if we can't have it, then I'll settle for our next entry. 18. Welch Grape Soda. It was a purple powerhouse of sugar and grape flavor. If you were a fan, this was practically a carbonated grape juice stand-in, which was intense enough to make you question whether real grapes could ever live up to this hype. Welch didn't mess around. This drink practically shouted grape at you from the first sip. And who knows, maybe that's part of the reason it faded away. Grape soda lovers are a rare breed, and for everyone else, Welch's Grape might have just been a bit much. In a world that was shifting to cola domination, Welch's was like that one friend that you wish you hadn't invited to the party. Sure, it was fun, but it did not exactly have that mainstream staying power. So, here's the question. Would you give it a try again if it came back? Or is grape soda a flavor that's better left in the past, like hypercolor shirts and pagers? 17. Pepsi Light. Pepsi Light was part diet soda, part science experiment, and all 70s madness. Back then, Pepsi decided to make a diet version of their cola for people who wanted to cut down on calories but still get a kick of flavor. The thing is, Pepsi Light wasn't just lower calorie, it was also lemon flavored. Yep, lemon. The thinking was, why not add a splash of citrus to balance out that aftertaste that early diet sodas always had? The resultant mixture was marketed as a refreshing alternative to regular colas, and the lemony surprise was supposed to be its secret weapon. Pepsi had to find some way to convince people that a diet drink could actually taste decent, or at least not completely like chemicals. But it turned out that lemon in cola was a bit of an acquired taste that needed more time to become a big thing. Sure, there are folks who like a squeeze of lemon in their soda, but over time Pepsi found out that most people don't want a whole lemon in their Pepsi. And just like that, the soda quietly disappeared from shelves. Up next, we have a soda that should have been even more popular than Coca-Cola just based on its taste alone. 16. Hires Root Beer. Are we all too busy chasing the next bold flavor to look back at the classics? Hires Root Beer echoes through soda history like the crackling sound of an old radio. Founded in 1876 by Charles Hires, this root beer began its life as a herbal tonic, meant to be served as a health drink. Hires mixed up a concoction of roots, herbs, and spices, and by the turn of the century, he had a hit on his hands. It quickly transitioned from a medicinal beverage to a beloved soda, thanks in large part to Hires' marketing genius. Talk about a glow-up. He even sold the syrup so people could make root beer at home. This was long before DIY was a trend. Hires root beer soon became the gold standard of root beer, but its fame couldn't take it all the way up to the present moment. Now, let's find out how our next entry evolved to somehow survive the changing times. 15. 7-Up Gold. 7-Up Gold was a bold attempt to stir the pot in a world of citrus sodas. Imagine the familiar, refreshing taste of 7-Up, but now infused with a mysterious blend of spices and a hint of caramel. The idea was to create a soda that could compete with the growing market for more unique flavors. That may have been the idea, but let's be honest, it took a bit of getting used to. The marketing for 7-Up Gold tried to position it as a potential market leader, but the tagline, "It's got a taste that's gold," had us scratching our heads. Gold? What does that even taste like? The drink hit the shelves with hopes of becoming the new must-have soda, but the public had other plans. 7-Up Gold's darker color and spiced flavor felt like a misfit at the soda party, but I really think it's due for a comeback. So, here's a thought. If 7-Up Gold actually returned, would you give it a try? Up next, we have a diet soda that absolutely needs to grow wings from the past and fly to the present. 14. Tab. What do you say about sipping on a drink that reminds you of your dad's fashion choices as a younger man? This soda feels like a time capsule from the 70s and 80s. It was sent to orbit by Coca-Cola in 1963, which meant Tab was one of the first diet colas to hit the market. With its bright pink can and catchy ads, it quickly became the poster child for the diet soda movement, marketed specifically toward women who wanted to enjoy soda without the guilt. Tab had that signature saccharine sweetness that diet sodas of the time were known for, but let's face it, many of us remember it more for its unique aftertaste. It even had its own dedicated fan base, with die-hard enthusiasts who'd defend its honor like it was a vintage band or sports team. However, as taste trends evolved and new diet sodas hit the shelves, Tab began to fade from the limelight. By the late 90s, Coca-Cola decided to cut its losses, and Tab quietly slipped into obscurity. But while Tab may have been wiped away from existence, our next entry took it to a whole new level. 13. Aspen. No, I'm not talking about the ski resort. Aspen was part of Coca-Cola's answer to the growing demand for low-calorie drinks. It was sold as a fruit-flavored soda, which might lead you to believe you were sipping on natural goodness. Spoiler alert, you weren't. Aspen featured a unique blend of flavors and was often touted as having less sugar than traditional sodas. It aimed to capture the essence of refreshing with some experimental recipes, while conveniently ignoring the fact that most soda drinkers were just looking for something sweet and bubbly. The ads even pitched it as an active lifestyle drink, as if you could climb Mount Kilimanjaro, a mountain, just by chugging this bubbly fizz drink. But while Coca-Cola poured money into advertising Aspen, the taste didn't quite match the hype. It wasn't long before drinkers realized that the promise of a refreshing, low-cal beverage often fell flat. After a few years on the market, Aspen fizzled out, lost in the shuffle of more recognizable brands that offered familiar flavors. So while Aspen lost hype because it didn't taste as good, our next entry had to go because it was way too out of this world. 12. New Coke.
More people said, Coke is it.
It's a hit. It's a Coke.
Created in 1985, New Coke was Coca-Cola's audacious attempt to shake things up in their rivalry with Pepsi and RC Cola. After nearly a century of sticking to the original formula, the company decided it was time for a change, and they set out to create a sweeter, smoother version of their flagship cola. The idea was to compete more aggressively with Pepsi, which was gaining ground in the cola wars and attracting younger consumers with its sweeter taste. But the introduction of New Coke was met with immediate backlash. Fans of the original formula felt like their beloved soda had been hijacked. It was as if Coca-Cola had taken a classic edgy rock anthem and turned it into a cheesy love song. Consumers were outraged, petitions were launched, and angry letters flooded the company's headquarters. The fervor reached such heights that it became a pop culture phenomenon. After all, when a beverage inspires protests, you know something has gone terribly wrong. Coca-Cola eventually realized their misstep and, just a few months later, reintroduced the original formula as Coca-Cola Classic. This bold move not only salvaged their brand, but also solidified the original Coke's place in soda history. Hey, it wasn't bad that they had already gotten all that free publicity with all those protests. It could probably survive another emergence today, but that's still too risky. It's better if we stick to tried and true favorites like our next entry. 11. Shasta.
I wanna taste pizzazz, all the great taste Shasta has.
This name may not ring a bell for everyone, but for those in the know, it brings back fond memories of road trips, backyard barbecues, and the kind of family gatherings where soda flowed like water. Founded in 1889, Shasta was one of those brands that embraced the idea of more is more, offering a dazzling array of flavors that ranged from the classic like root beer to the downright wacky cucumber option. Shasta boldly went where few dared to tread. During its time in the 60s and 70s, Shasta became a staple in supermarkets and convenience stores across America. The colorful cans practically screamed "party" and were often found at potlucks or picnics, where folks could take their pick from a rainbow of options. With flavors like orange, grape, and strawberry, Shasta should have belonged to the candy aisle. However, as consumers became more brand loyal, Shasta began to fade into the background. The soda market got dominated by larger players, and the variety that once made Shasta exciting became a liability. Many people still have fond memories of it, but how often do you see it on the shelves these days? Let's be honest. How many of us would dare to try that cucumber flavor again? If that doesn't sound like your cup of tea, then I have just the drink for you coming up next. 10. OK. When the Dr. Pepper Company launched OK in 1985, no one could have predicted what insane heights it would reach. The marketing campaign was brilliantly unconventional, featuring tongue-in-cheek ads that embraced irony and an attitude of indifference. The slogan, "It's OK," said it all. This wasn't about being the best soda on the block. It was just, well, fine. What made OK Soda the boss was a mix of cola and citrus with a hint of something that felt vaguely herbal. The taste was as ambiguous as the brand's identity, leaving consumers wondering exactly what they were sipping. The idea was to appeal to the disaffected youth of the time, a generation that was growing tired of the over-the-top marketing of other sodas. OK Soda embraced a kind of cool, casual vibe. However, despite the catchy marketing and quirky concept, OK Soda never really took off. It became one of those products that left consumers scratching their heads. After a brief stint on the market, it vanished in the early 90s, leaving behind a cult following of those who appreciated its odd charm. 9. Quust. Quust aimed to blend the crispness of seltzer with a hint of flavor. The concept was a light, refreshing beverage that could quench your thirst without the guilt of calories or excessive sugar. It promised to be the answer to your fizzy drink cravings while maintaining a healthy image. But here's where it got interesting, or perhaps confusing. Quust came in several flavors, but the whole idea of a soda that wasn't quite a soda left many consumers puzzled. Was it sparkling water, a flavored drink? The line between those categories was pretty blurry, which can be a hard sell in a market that thrives on clear identities. The unique name itself seemed to invite questions. What exactly is Quust? The branding just didn't resonate with soda lovers or seltzer enthusiasts. Despite its potential, Quust quickly fizzled out. In a beverage landscape that was rapidly evolving, it struggled to carve out its niche. People obviously went toward established brands and flavors that they already loved, and Quust was lost in the shuffle. So, here's the million-dollar question. How many of us would actually embrace something called Quust without a good story to go along with it? That is how the incredibly powerful marketing of our next entry managed to capture hearts and souls all through America. 8. Jolt Cola. Now, isn't that a blast from the past? Launched in 1985, Jolt was the caffeinated dream of college students and late-night gamers everywhere. Hailed as all the sugar and twice the caffeine, Jolt Cola was the soda for those who wanted an extra kick to get through long study sessions, all-nighters, or just the daily grind. With its neon packaging, it was as if the drink was asking why coffee should have all the fun. Jolt came in a variety of flavors, including the classic cola and a wild cherry variant that was as bright as its marketing. It didn't just promise a caffeine boost, it delivered it in spades. Remember those times when you'd crack open a can feeling like you were consuming pure energy? Anyone who took it wanted to feel like they were on a sugar high while taking on the world. However, as the years went by, Jolt Cola found itself in a weird position. While it initially carved out a niche among thrill seekers and caffeine enthusiasts, the market became crowded with energy drinks. Jolt's wild ride came to a screeching halt in the early 2000s. Making a comeback today is unlikely, but nothing is impossible. Hey, even our next entry would have seemed impossible to exist before it appeared on the market. 7. Bubble Up. Merle Haggard had a 1981 song called Rainbow Stew, where he spoke about drinking that free Bubble Up and eating that rainbow stew. That goes to show you how popular this unlikely drink became. Introduced in the 1960s, Bubble Up was a citrus-flavored soda that aimed to compete with the big players like 7-Up and Sprite. Unlike its clearer competitors, Bubble Up had a vibrant green color that screamed, "tasty." The slogan, "the drink that's a real gas," perfectly captured the spirit of the time. The drink quickly gained popularity thanks to not only the bright flavor, but also that delightful pop of carbonation. Bubble Up was the kind of soda you might find at picnics, barbecues, and family gatherings, a fizzy companion to hot dogs and potato salad. It became synonymous with fun, youth, and the excitement of warm summer days. The drink even played with the nostalgia of the era, attempting to capitalize on the post-war boom and the blossoming youth culture. However, as time marched on, Bubble Up began to slip into obscurity. By the late 90s, it was largely a memory for many. If Bubble Up were to make a comeback today, would it be seen as just another throwback in a market already crowded with quirky craft sodas and exotic flavors? Who wouldn't be tempted to relive those carefree days with a can of Bubble Up in hand? 6. Faygo Chocolate Soda. What happens when a company goes wild and releases a soda that tastes like dessert? Faygo Chocolate Soda sounds like it could only exist in an alternate universe where all beverages are designed to test your taste buds. Originating from the Faygo brand, This soda was part of the company's quirky lineup of flavors that seemed to push the boundaries of what soda could be. For those unfamiliar with Faygo, it's a Detroit-based company known for its wildly diverse array of soft drink flavors, including everything from the standard cola to the more adventurous cotton candy. But chocolate soda? That's a bold move even for them. Faygo chocolate soda was essentially a sweet, fizzy chocolate treat that tried to bring dessert to the beverage aisle. Imagine cracking open a can, expecting a refreshing soda, and instead being greeted with a taste of chocolate syrup mixed with carbonation. It was the kind of drink that likely left you either excited or utterly bewildered. While Faygo gained a loyal following for its other flavors, chocolate soda never quite achieved the same level of popularity. The idea of chocolate in a fizzy drink, while intriguing, was certainly too much for the soda market to handle. Honestly, what were they thinking? The truth is that chocolate soda may be an experiment, but it is definitely not as crazy as the insane name they gave our next entry. 5. Worms. Worms soda certainly raises eyebrows and possibly some stomachs. Launched in the 90s, Worms was an experimental beverage created by the eccentric company known for its quirky and offbeat flavors. Unlike the more traditional sodas we grew up with, Worms soda was specifically designed to be a novelty drink, often marketed for parties, Halloween celebrations, or as a prank gift. The concept was bizarre. How could a fizzy beverage come complete with gummy worm candies floating in it? Imagine taking a sip of soda and feeling a little squishy surprise in your mouth. The taste was typically a fruity flavor, but the real selling point was the gimmick. The main focus was on the drinking experience, which was designed to elicit giggles and perhaps a few groans from unsuspecting drinkers. However, as fun as it might have been for a laugh, Worm soda struggled to find a solid footing in the market. While novelty drinks can often grab attention, they tend to have a limited shelf life. After all, how many times can you serve a drink with worms before it loses its fun? Speaking of fun, our next entry was a fruit-flavored magician that took excitement to a different dimension. 4. Patio. Launched in the 1960s, Patio was a fruit-flavored soda brand that aimed to capture the carefree spirit of outdoor gatherings, barbecues, and lazy summer days. With bright, bold packaging and an array of flavors, Patio positioned itself as the perfect companion for any backyard picnic or family get-together. It was all about good times and great flavors, much like its tagline, "The flavor of fun." The soda quickly gained traction. The flavors were typically sweet, with that classic soda fizz that made you feel. Patio even attempted to bring some extra fun to its branding with its distinctive slogan, celebrating the idea that soda was more than just a drink. It was part of a lifestyle. However, Patio soon began to fade from the spotlight. The vibrant flavors that once captured the hearts of many were overshadowed. While Patio rots in the graveyard, let's take a look at a soda that could have been even bigger than Mountain Dew. 3. Mellow Yellow. Hearing this name might just conjure up images of carefree summer days and the quest for a refreshing citrus drink. Launched in 1979 by the Coca-Cola Company, Mellow Yellow was designed to be a direct competitor to Mountain Dew, aiming to capture the youthful, energetic vibe of the time. In reality, it tasted like a slightly watered-down, but sweeter version of Mountain Dew. With its vibrant yellow hue and that unmistakable citrus flavor, it quickly gained a following among those seeking a bold, refreshing alternative to the more traditional lemon-lime sodas. From its inception, it was marketed as the soda for adventurers and thrill seekers, with ads that often featured extreme sports and energetic lifestyles. It was said to give a mellow experience despite being packed with caffeine, which felt a little ironic but all the more appealing to those in search of an energy boost. The slogan, "Get Mellow," was repeated so often that it became an anthem. But even with all that street cred, Mellow Yellow found itself in a tough spot as the years went on. The beverage market became saturated with new flavors and brands, and while Mellow Yellow maintained a loyal fan base, it struggled to keep pace with the explosive growth of other citrus-flavored sodas. As trends shifted, Mellow Yellow slipped into the background, becoming more of a nostalgic favorite than a household staple, which is more than we can say about our next entry. 2. Frosty Root Beer. This name may not ring a bell for everyone, but for those who remember, it was a legend in old-school soda shops and backyard barbecues. Originating in the early 1930s, Frosty root beer was one of the pioneers in the root beer game, carving out a niche with its classic rich flavor and creamy texture. It was the kind of soda that you could imagine being enjoyed on a hot summer day, perhaps served in an icy glass with a scoop of vanilla ice cream for that perfect root beer float. With its signature frosty blue label and charming branding, Frosty root beer was marketed as a fun, family-friendly beverage. It sought to capture that classic American spirit, inviting consumers to take a refreshing break from their day. The taste was what you'd expect from a traditional root beer, sweet, with hints of sassafras and vanilla that left a lingering, satisfying flavor. However, as the landscape began to switch up, Frosty faced tough competition from larger brands like A&W and Barks, which dominated the market with their strong advertising campaigns. While Frosty maintained a somewhat strong presence, it struggled to keep up with the changing tastes and preferences of consumers in an increasingly crowded field. It's not easy to make it big as a niche drink. Our final entry knows about that a little too well. 1. Tahitian Treat. Tahitian Treat likely brings a wave of pleasant memories chilling in front of a couch for those who enjoyed its tropical vibes back in the day. Launched in the 1980s, Tahitian Treat was a fruit-flavored soda that aimed to transport consumers to a sunny paradise with every sip. It was marketed as a fruity, refreshing alternative to traditional colas, featuring a bright red color and an unmistakably sweet flavor that was reminiscent of a tropical fruit punch. The soda was especially popular among those looking for a fun, vibrant beverage at parties and gatherings. With its catchy slogan, "It's a treat," Tahitian Treat captured the essence of carefree summer days, family picnics, and childhood birthday parties. The unique blend of fruity flavors made it a go-to for kids and adults alike, often served alongside snacks and sandwiches for a truly festive experience. However, it all started to go south when Tahitian Treat began to fade from the mainstream market. While it still held a special place in the hearts of many, it struggled to compete with the rising popularity of craft sodas and other dreamy soda options. Its tropical essence, which was once a selling point, was now the key to its downfall. If it comes back today, how many of us would jump at the chance to relive those sunny days with a bright red can of Tahitian Treat in hand? So which of these forgotten sodas have you seen around recently? Do you think any one of them has a chance of making a comeback? Let us know what you think in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more nostalgic videos like this.